Between Little Big Workshop and 2 Point Hospital, there seems to be a kind of resurgence of the Bullfrog Sim League among major studios, and I, for one, couldn't be happier. And with this one, we have a game that has a really great foundation that I hope we see expand in the future. But the concept is that we are running this little gnome workshop on our table here, and our mission is to become the best dang workshop there is, building all manner of goods. Fortunately for us, our gnomes don't understand concepts such as healthcare, union, or acceptable work hours. But we are free to basically do what we want to keep our factory going, growing, and of course keeping it out of the red and ending up bankrupt. Now, the basic concept of the game is that you'll choose products to build from a market, and the market itself is kind of dynamic. And from there, you'll be able to set the various materials, processes, and machines that you'll use for each production. You'll need either machines that are specialized for that task or generalized that we'll come back to in a minute. Once you've set the work order, your gnomes will do their own thing. They'll manage where the various materials will go, what they'll do in the production chain, etc., etc. And the market itself will change, be basically behind the scenes, essentially based on demand as well as the price of the various goods. Progression in Little Big Workshop is about completing orders, and you'll see an experience bar at the bottom right hand corner of the screen. When you've earned enough experience, you'll gain research points, and these points are used to unlock various features or new options in your factory, such as expanding to different plots, advanced machinery, more workers, and so on and so forth. The game's only real sense of progression is in the form of milestones. The milestones require you to complete specific tasks, usually related to making enough goods, having a high enough money or high enough income coming in, and so on. And when your milestone goes up, you'll unlock more challenges, more sponsors, and other options, including a guy who sends trouble to your factory that you have to handle in kind of pseudo mini-game form. Now, when you get these various specialized orders from people, they'll require you to complete a task in a specific amount of time. And this is where things get very challenging in terms of Little Big Workshop's progression and kind of understanding how the game plays out. With your factory, every task will take up a specific amount of time. And this is determined based on how many processes are a part of it, as well as the machines that you use. As I said a minute ago, machines are broken down into specific categories. The generalized machines are cheaper and they do more, but they're 4 times slower than the specialized machines, which of course cost more money. There are also specific processes that you can do that require a machine that is specialized, such as a foam injector, robot manufacturing is a later one, and there are more examples of it. But when you look at the blueprint here, there are a lot of different tasks that you have to do. And as you set up the different processes, they determine the quality of the actual end product. And your end product must meet specific parameters in order for it to be sold or sent to the sponsor. And the challenge of the game, again, is trying to figure out what can you make, or can you complete those orders in a specified time, and of course stay under budget. You don't want to go bankrupt making a large work order, for instance. So the dynamic of the machines is that you're going to have to start out slow in Little Big Workshop, as there's far too many specialized machines for you to buy at once and keep yourself in business. And the game, I think, does a very interesting job along these lines. That it is a non-linear campaign, where there really isn't a sense of a mission structure. This was one of the common things we see in a lot of Bullfrog Sim style games, especially 2 Point Hospital, that it is a mission by mission basis. So each time you start a new mission, you're essentially repeating the same 10 to 15 minutes of gameplay each and every time. Here in Little Big Workshop, Your products are broken down to three categories of wood, plastic, and metal, each with their own specialists, machines, and kind of a different process that you'll have to deal with when you're making use of them. And then some goods will require multiple parts of it, such as this right here that requires both, or it could require both plastic and metal at the same time. And you are free to focus or ignore the various materials as you see fit. The end game of Little Big Workshop requires, or it allows you to fully specialize your factory into either a mass manufacturing giant or a specialized high-end one with specific researches and perks you can unlock for each. As I said a minute ago, you can also upgrade your workers into specialists. They'll cost more and require more to be happy, but they'll perform their specified tasks faster than a general person. And I really like this kind of design in terms of kind of allowing you to focus and still be open as you're building up your factory. There's a lot in terms of general micromanagement in Little Big Workshop that we'll come back to in a minute. But like I said, once you set an order, the game basically takes care of it itself. And at the best moments, Little Big Workshop kind of occupies that same just one more product or one more turn itch that we see from some of the best strategy and sim games. And I really enjoy this one. But with that said, I do have a few complaints about the design of the game and where I would like to see developers go forward with it. And we're going to talk about that next. But first, a quick shout out to our current Game Wisdom Patreon supporters and sponsors. And now for a quick thank you to our current Game Wisdom Patreon supporters and sponsors. And if you'd like to continue this discussion on game design, be sure to check out our Discord channel, linked down below. Little Big Workshop has a great foundation to it, as we've talked about, but there's definitely some issues when it comes to iterating on that feedback loop. So my problems with the game kind of stem from two areas, and we'll start with the UI and general gameplay first. So much of Little Big Workshop is built around setting up tasks beforehand and then letting things go. But the problem is that the game doesn't really do a good enough job with its UI that it allows you to make adjustments if something is not working right. To give you an example, there are going to be plenty of times that you're going to run into bottlenecks in your process. Maybe one machine is kind of holding everything up, or that you don't have enough workers. And it's very hard to kind of see where those problems come into play. I've had issues where I start a product, everything is on track, the game is estimating that I'll finish it well under time, and then for some reason, it just goes to heck. And the game's UI doesn't really show where these issues come into play. For instance, why is it taking very long on a specific part? And unless you know what you're looking for, you're going to miss those cues. Another issue is that the game doesn't, I think, do a good enough job of explaining how the break room works. And I figured this out on my latest run of the game. But how it works is that you have two kinds of items in the break room. Those that recover characters' health or recover their stamina, and then those items that will recover the first item's point. I know it's kind of hard to explain. So the idea is that you want to build enough of the food items to keep your workers happy, but you also need to build enough of the secondary items so that those food items are replenished in time. And the game didn't really explain that during the tutorial, which the tutorial itself is really great. Now, getting back to the micromanaging part, the game is very weird in this regard. In a lot of areas, the game streamlines things to make it very easy for you to do things or let tasks run on their own, but then it's very cumbersome in certain areas of micromanagement. Here's the big one. When you build or when you start a work order, you have to assign machines to that task, as we've talked about. But if you have multiple machines that can basically do it, such as 2 glue machines, 2 welders, etc., you can't tell the work order by itself to split those tasks. Instead, you need to set up billboards. Now, here's where it gets a little bit more annoying. The billboards will only allow you to link the same machine to it. So, it's not like I set a billboard to say, I want you to handle all the work in a specific room. No, I have to set up one billboard for glue machines, one billboard for a lathe, one billboard for welding, and again, you get the picture. And if you add a machine after or during a work order, after you've already confirmed it, it can become very annoying to have to go in and manually set things to include that new machine. And again, if you run into bottlenecks, as we've talked about, you may be doing that a lot. Another point is that the game is very binary in terms of how things go or where they'll be set up. You've probably noticed on the screen I've set up various zones. That's the blue, yellow rectangle on the screen right now. And you have to, again, set everything to be manual in terms of where goods will go. And if you miss one item, it can screw up your entire work order, and you may not even realize why that is the case. For instance, the blue zones are set up that they will put in goods that are relative to the work orders of the machines that it's linked to. So again, if you add a new machine, you forget to link that zone to it, you're going to run into a problem where the people will leave goods in areas where they're not supposed to. And again, it's such a weird thing that the game wants you to be able to handle the macro layer of things, but tends to force you into the micro when there is a problem. Speaking about the micro layer, one thing that I could not get to work in over like 5-6 hours of playing this game is what the haulers actually do. Those are the gnomes that are in all green. And they're supposed to be used to move goods from one area or factory to the next, but it always seemed like my other workers were just doing that themselves. And if anyone knows what's going on there, let me know in the comments below. But the only other, I think, real issue that I have with Little Big Workshop is, like I said, that the gameplay loop itself doesn't really evolve beyond what you've seen. So far, this video is about 13 minutes long. And if what you've seen so far you love, then you are going to really enjoy this game. But if you're hoping for more dynamic or emergent gameplay to develop out of it, the game doesn't go that far. Once you've set up a process, again, everything is out of your hands. There's no real sense of min-maxing or kind of being able to control the assembly line. For instance, if you looked at games such as Factorio and the many games that kind of riffed off of that, there's that ability for you to personalize or customize how things are done and set up new dynamics that way. Here, it doesn't work like that. A machine and your people will work the same way 100% of the time, again and again and again. And the game itself, or the other systems surrounding this, aren't really complicated or involved enough for you to kind of focus on something else. The little mini games that pop up tend to become more annoyances as you get further in, and the market itself is kind of out of your control. And I feel like the game needs maybe like one more loop to pull it all together. Either allow me more micromanagement or control over my factory, or a greater sense of persistence or affecting the market. Just something else, I think, to really take it all home. Now, one other complaint that I didn't mention, I want to bring up really fast, is that the game itself tends to, like, when you focus on that micromanagement we've talked about, it feels more like busy work. And that seems to be, again, like kind of like the overall problem for this section, that there's nothing else that's really occupying your time. as you go up in the milestones, it really doesn't become a factor of you growing as a player, but just waiting for things to finish, as in completing the various tasks. And it's such a very weird complaint. Because one of the things, as I said earlier, that I felt Little Big Workshop did better in terms of its campaign structure compared to Two Point Hospital. But Two Point Hospital, I think, did better in terms of its reward structure, with giving you more things that unlock that you can then go back and use in your other hospitals or change things up. And I am really fascinated to see where developers go with this, because I would love to see an expand upon sequel or an expansion, something to add in more gameplay to these systems. But I would like to thank developers for giving me a press key to check this one out. Again, what you see is what you get with Little Big Workshop. If you're still watching this footage in awe at this game, then definitely pick it up, as you're going to love it. But if you've already fallen asleep at the prospect of watching my little gnomes walk around my factory, then this is not going to be the game for you. But thank you so much for watching this video. Come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where some of the art and science of games. Until next time, this has once again been Little Big Workshop, and I will see you all then. If you're looking for more wisdom about game design, be sure to check out my latest offering of books, 20 Essential Games to Study, aimed for first-time developers and students looking for some inspiration for their upcoming games, and Game Design Deep Dive Platformers if you're interested in anything regarding 2D and 3D platforming design. They're both available in print, digital, and wherever books are being sold. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed things, be sure to do all the liking and subscribing that the kids are doing these days. Check out our Discord channel linked down below, where we hang out and chat game design, and come back later tonight for our regular streamings. But that's it, and tune in for more great content here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games.